Welcome to a pretty special run that you're gonna watch here. We're playing a $3,500 buy-in at the Aria in Las Vegas, and it's pretty special. It's day 2 of the tournament. We're closing in on being in the money, and welcome to the journey of hoping to win a tournament. So we've had a very eventful start to this day 2 here. We started with 150,000 chips and now sitting at 600,000 with 75% of the field left that pays. There's a very small min cash, but $600,000 for first place. With the blinds being at 6K, I've about 600,000 in my stack. With ace queen offsuit in the big blind, we get the small blind to limp off of about 25 to 30 big blinds. Here, I decided to raise it up to 21,000, of course, blind versus blind with a very good hand. And my opponent goes all in. Well, snippety snap, we're all in here with ace queen, hopefully dominating him, but he has pocket eights for a flip. And just like that, we see an ace high flop. Yeah, GG's to my opponent. I am sun running to start the day and very good time to start recording as I win the first all-in of the video. With over 800,000 chips now, I've got piles. Pick up ace queen offsuit once again. Now I raised up to 14,000 and I get the +1 player on my direct left to 3-bet me to 45,000. Action folds to me here, and with the percentage of the field left, I think my hand actually is a very good candidate to 4-bet here. I have a covering stack. I can apply a lot of pressure. Maybe my opponent can just have a weak hand here, but I think I have a good candidate because I don't want to call. I think my hand's too weak to call, and a good 4-bet bluff. So I make it 95,000, and yeah, this is not a good time to bluff as my opponent goes all in for about 300,000. Looks like no one is actually bluffing, and I'm the only monkey at the table, but gonna lose a few chips here with ace queen. An improvement from last hand, ace king in the cutoff, raised it up to 14,000. I get the small blind and big blind to both make the call. Flop comes ace 5-4 rainbow. So when action checks it over to me here with an ace high flop, I bet 16,000, loving this spot. The small blind makes the call. Turn comes a jack, bringing in a backdoor flush draw, and my opponent checks one more time. Now, I think I have a pretty easy spot to barrel off. I think I can get a lot of value from worst aces, and that's really it. Trying to target worse aces, which there are plenty of, besides ace jack, ace 5, ace 4. I bet 108,000 here, and my opponent once again comes along for a call. So we've got a really big pot brewing. The river comes a queen. That is not the best looking card. So I'm going to check this one back, and my opponent shows ace jack. Whew, that one is tough. Bad turn, and I bet so big on the turn too. Just unlucky in this spot, but not very lucky in the last 2 hands now in this video. Blinds have increased, and we've got a hand. 5-6 offsuit in the small blind, and we see a 7-8-9 flop blind versus blind. I get it all in on the turn, drawing dead for a massive pot versus jack 10. And wow, that is from riches to rags now. I've got crumbs after getting coolered here in this massive spot. Blinds are at the 10K level. I only have 200,000 in my stack, and we're 2 off the money. We have an undergun player who raises it up to 20,000 here, trying to make a move. I 3-bet to 50. And it doesn't work as the cutoff 4 bets to 110, and I just hate my life right now, okay? We're super handcuffed, and things aren't going to work out as I fold, but at least we made it in the money, locked up a very, very small min cash. I think of like $4,500. This is a $3,500 buy-in, min cash of $4,500, but hey, at least the bubble has bursted and time to spin it up with pocket kings. Finally picking up some heat. I raise it up to 22,000 on the button, and I get the big blind to 3-bet me to 80,000. I don't think this opponent has many 3-bet bluffs here, but I don't think that my hand wants to be all in either. Just too strong and just want to induce whatever he may have. So I click it to 150,000. My opponent's all in, covering me. I have about 330, snap all in. We're up against pocket jacks. We've got a massive all in for about 600,000 in the pot. Can I finally win some chips back with 80%? And we hold. Phew. Lovely. Finally, you know, you just lose like 4 hands in a row and then win 1 big all in, and suddenly we're right back in it with about 700,000 chips. We pick up pocket queens in the next level. At the 12K big blind, I raise it up to 27,000. Small blind goes all in for 300,000, give or take. Oh yeah, we're in there, and we're up against ace 10, so another massive all-in for about a 600,000 chip pot with pocket queens. I'm a heavy favorite to win, and I hold. That's the sun run, everyone. You pick up kings, double up, pick up queens, stack an opponent, and make the maximum. Just like that, we went from rags back up to riches with about 1 million in my stack. Things are heating up now as people are busting. We're getting deeper and deeper in this tournament, and we have king jack offsuit in the hijack. I raised up to 27,000, and a good pro to my left, and the cutoff Shannon Shore makes the call. So we're off to a flop of queen 9-3 2 diamonds, and here action's gonna go check check. I think I'm going to check a lot here, and he's going to check behind. So we are off to see a turn, which is the bank 10 of clubs. Oh my goodness, with the nut straight. I'm sun running today, everyone. I bet 55,000, and my opponent ends up making the call for 55,000. Now off to a river, which comes in ace, and here still remaining with the straight and Broadway now. I don't know how much I want to bet. Honestly, I debated between going small, going medium, going big. And here, you know what? I have the nuts. I got to take my chances here and try to go for gold. I fire out about 130% of the pot, 260,000 into the middle. And my opponent doesn't take too long before making a decision, and that's a call. I show the nuts and chip up massively once again. Pretty lucky spot. I guess the river actually helped, as he might have rivered to pair. Anyways, this is lovely. We're sun running with 1.3 million in my stack, and there's 58 players left now. Blinds have increased to the 20K big blind level, and we've got ace 10 offsuit in the big blind. Our buddy Joe Chong on the button opens it up to 45,000. He has also a massive stack as well. Covering me, it might be chip leading the tournament. I make the call pre-flop and see a flop of king 10-8 rainbow. Middle pair, top kicker, I check, and he fires out 55,000. Expect him to be betting a lot here, and yeah, I'm going to make the call with ace 10. Turn comes the jack of clubs, brings in a backdoor flush draw. I check once again, and he fires 175,000. Honestly, a little bit scary, a little bit annoying of a spot here because I know that my hand just has to call, but obviously very uncomfortable doing that with just third pair. But I did pick up a straight draw. My hand could be good a lot of the time, and my buddy could definitely be bluffing. So I make the call, and we're off to a river, which is the 3 of clubs. Action luckily goes check, check, which means I might have the winner. I show the 10, and it's good. So going to pick up another pot against my buddy here, and we're moving on to the 25K big blind level with ace queen offsuit. Action starts off with the under the gun player raising up to 60,000. I make the call here, just going to smooth call because the under the gun player is going to be super strong, and he has a covering stack. So we got piles on this table. Flop comes ace queen high. Oh man. Easy decisions all day for me here with top 2 pair. I check it to my opponent, and he fires 80,000. Don't think my hand can serve as a check raise. Maybe it can, but I think my hand just blocks a lot of his value. So I'm going to make the call. The turn comes a low heart, bringing in a backdoor flush draw. I check to my opponent, and he fires out 280,000. Once again, another massive bet compared to the size of the pot. So I am not going to do anything. If I'm ever going to have a really strong hand here in this spot, I think it's going to be top 2 pair blocking the value once again. I make the call, and we're off to a river, which comes another heart. Not the clean river that I wanted. Might be hard for him to bluff off, or might be a tough decision on the river here. But action quickly goes check, check. So I'll take down the pot with top 2 pair, of course. And now almost at 2 million chips, things are going quite well. With pocket 10s in the low jack, we're picking up the heat with some premiums. I raise it up to 55,000, and the hijack to my left immediately goes all in. He's got about 420,000 in his stack. It's certainly good enough for me to snap call with pocket 10s, of course. We're up against ace king, so we've got a flip. We're all in, and we're the covering stack. We see a pretty bad flop, honestly. We don't have many outs, but the scam on the river 10 2 outer. Man, I really had a good feeling about this pocket 10s hand, and rightfully so. 2 outer on the river to stack an opponent. We're 1 player less in the field, and we are picking up chips massively once again. This hand you're going to see, strap in, it's a very fun one. With 5 deuce of clubs on the big blind, low jack opens up to 55,000, and I'm happy to make the call with, well, a playable hand. The flop comes 4-3-3, 2 hearts and a diamond, and this is a pretty spicy flop at this point. I check to my opponent, and he fires out 35,000. Here, I think my opponent could be betting a little bit too wide, and I have a very good candidate to check raise. We're playing super deep, and Maybe I want to have better candidates like flush draws or something else than just a naked straight draw, but I'm going to go for it regardless. I check raise to 85,000. Well, this is when things go a little bit off the rails as my opponent fires out another raise to 200,000. All right. Trying to figure out what's happening here. My opponent raised from early position. Don't think he's going to have many threes here. Just almost never, besides ace three, of course, but not many possibilities of such a holding. And this board is going to favor me a lot, and I am still going to have lots and lots of strong hands. I can have full houses. I can have trips. I can just have the world. So here, I decided to call out of position. It's going to get a little dicey here to navigate some turns and rivers, but I'm going to try my best to. When we see the turn, which is the deuce of diamonds, brings in a backdoor flush draw. So 2 flush draws, and the board is super wet and scary for my opponent here, I believe. Anyways, action's going to go check, check, so no money gets put in here. And the river is the ace of spades. Whew. That's a pretty clean looking card, in my opinion. Here, though, after my opponent 3-bets the flop, I don't actually know what the correct course of action is. It's certainly to bet, but I don't know how much. Obviously, I have a straight here, and I just hope my opponent can have an ace or just have a non-believing pocket pair. Anyways, I bet 300,000 into the middle. My opponent goes into the tank, and obviously when he's in the tank, I don't think he's going to be raising. Doesn't have aces, luckily, or at least I hope not. Anyways, he does end up making the call, which means I win with my straights, so straight up sun running. All to say is that my opponent was 3-betting pretty light on the flop, and I just binked the turn to get paid. With over 3 million chips now, once again, like I said, we're sun running. I have ace, king of hearts in early position, raise it up to 55,000, and the big blind calls. Going to a flop of 9-7-3 rainbow, my opponent checks it over to me here, and I think I'm going to bet small, which is what I do for 50,000. My opponent calls, and we see a beautiful turn. Ace of clubs. Oh, does it get any better than this, guys? Really, running deep in the tournament and sun running. My opponent checks, and I'm going to fire 160,000 into the middle. And just like that, my opponent calls once again. River, jack of diamonds, pretty clean overall with top pair, top kicker. Obviously going to go for value. My opponent checks one more time. I fire out 375,000, and my opponent goes into the tank. But I do have to say, during the tank, if my opponent were to check raise, it would be a pretty gross spot with ace-king, to be fair. I am going a little bit thin for value, but it doesn't matter as my opponent ends up calling, and the sun is strong, winning yet another pot. I'm almost at 4 million chips now, which is pretty insane when I started the day at 150,000. But blinds have increased. I have over 100 big blinds, and I pick up 5-6 of diamond on the button. Hijack is my buddy Joe, raises to 65,000. Here, I have a decision between, I think, a call and a 3-bet. And let's get spicy here. Obviously, Joe very capable of raising lights and hoping I can just target some folds. I make it 200,000 and he calls. So playing in position, the flop is 9-5-3 to hearts. Joe checks it over to me here, and I fire 160,000. In hindsight, really don't like the size of my bet here. I think I blundered this pretty hard with just middle pair. It's just playing a little scared, I guess, but my opponent ends up making the call. Turn comes the deuce of hearts now, which is a little bit scary. Hearts are on the board, but I have a straight draw now. Anyways, I decided to check this one back. In hindsight, once again, I don't think I love my decision. I think I still have to bet for protection, but anyways, the river is another deuce, which is as clean of a run as I can ask for with a pair of fives. Anyways, my opponent fires 625,000, and this is not a very fun spot to be in, suddenly with just second pair. Do I have any other better hands to call as played? I don't think so, but is my opponent really going to try to bluff me in this spot? I mean, I'm known to be a punter. Anyways, it's a big bet, and I think the edge is small against my opponent, and I decided to fold. I don't know. I think it's a bad fold, and rightfully so. My opponent didn't show the hand, but we talked about it after, and he told me he had king, queen, no heart. Ugh, don't love this one, but nice hand, well played by him. I think I certainly blundered this one. This is one of the last levels of the night. We're picking up some heat with pocket aces. Hopefully, I can just remake all of the chips I lost in the last hand. Well, once again, we're up against our good buddy Joe. He's on the button and raises it up to 65,000. Bad time to raise on the button, buddy. I 3-bet to 255,000, only with the best hand in poker, and my opponent ends up making the call. So we're going to go to a flop of 8, 6, 5, 2 diamonds. This is not a very fun board. Now, all of a sudden, I don't love this one in the 3-bet pot. And with aces here, I decided to check. I don't really know how I'm supposed to navigate these spots, but I think check makes a lot of sense with one of the better 1 pairs. And he fires out 150,000. Joe and I are playing super deep in this tournament, over 100 big blinds, so don't think I want to check raise, and not really happy with getting it in with 1 pair. So I make the call. Turn comes at 10, and I check one more time, and now he fires out 600,000. And suddenly this pot is getting huge. Okay, obviously I have aces. It's a very good hand, and I'm not going to go anywhere. But am I concerned at some point? Yes, certainly some siren alarm bells are ringing off that maybe aces could be beats, but not folding this just yet. I make the call. Turn comes a board pairing 10. So now I love this situation. All of his 2 pairs, like low cards, now got counterfeited, and very easy card for me to bluff catch on. Anyways, I check. He checks this one back with queen jack of diamonds. So he had a crazy turn here, turning a combo draw, but I'm going to hold with aces and win this one. So got most of my chips back at least. With about 3 hands left into the night, we're going to bag up for day 3. I pick up kings. The sun is continuing to run all the way until the end, isn't it? I raise up to 65,000, and my opponent in the big blind makes the call off to a flop of jack 10, 7, all diamonds. Pretty sick spot with the king of diamonds. My opponent checks it over to me, and I fire out 45,000. Pretty small bet. And now this time my opponent check raises to 105,000. Whew. Pretty small check raise, all things considered. I have my overpair, and I have a diamond as backup planned. Anyways, I decided to make the call, of course. Not going to 3-bet in this spot just yet. Don't think my hand is strong enough. Once again, playing super deep. Turn is the 3, so overall brick, and my opponent fires 40,000, about 10% of the pot. Now at this stage, I think I can raise. I'm not entirely sure, so let me know in the comments below, actually, if you made it this far. I have a really tough decision here with pocket kings against a 10% pot lead. Going either way with what I want to do, call or raise, and we're playing deep in the tournament, so maybe you could just call, but I decided to opt for a raise to 180,000, thinking that my hand could use some protection. It could certainly get some value against jacks or a 10 or anything with a lot of equity. And here he uses 2 time banks and ends up making the call. So when he calls this and doesn't re-raise, I'm fairly confident I have the best hand. When the river comes a board pairing 3, oh boy, now I'm loving this spot. Now I beat jack 10, I beat 10, 7, I beat jack 7. I just beat all the 2 pairs that he had, and obviously still lose to flushes, but thinking I have the best hand in my head a high majority of the time. So when my opponent checks, I decided to go all in for 1.1 million chips, and I get snapped off by ace 9 of diamonds. I fell for the Hollywood on the turn when he time banked. Oh my goodness, lose a pile to end the night. We literally end up bagging in 3 hands after this. So I didn't need to lose all of these chips. Didn't need to go broke and double up my opponent. But man, this feels bad. But we're arriving into day 3 with a healthy amount of chips. Could have had an overwhelming chip lead, but lost this one.
It is genuinely a bummer to lose such a huge pot to end the night. But hey, I'm still alive and I have piles. Average is like 1.4 million. So, can't get too salty. Story to be continued in the next video, potentially. And tomorrow, in real time at least, for day 3. My first day 3 this summer. And there's over 600,000 for first. Hopefully on to the next one. See you guys in the next video.